Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of The Rotation. My name is Ashley, aka MiDNiTE, joined as always with Kingdom. And this week we have a super special guest, Dylan Attach Price, the youngest Call of Duty world champion in history, right? Is that record's still yours, yeah?
Yeah. It would always be because COD Champs was like in March when I won it, but now it's at the end of the year, so they moved the schedule. So unless something crazy happens again, I think I'll always hold the record, which is nice.
Yes, let's go. That's Hall of Fame type stuff right there. But yeah, I would super appreciate you coming on. I know you guys are obviously deep in the thick of it here at the end of the year. We're in stage four or major four qualifiers, whatever you want to call it. We're just coming off of our first qualification weekend this past weekend where we played Optic and Florida. So I guess we could just get right into that and kind of start recapping that. Dylan, I would love to hear kind of your perspective, obviously, going into this past weekend. Obviously, we're up against it in the standings right now. So I want to just kind of hear, like, what were you guys thinking, like, as a team? What were you thinking, going into this weekend? And then obviously, I think we talked about it this past weekend, this last episode, if we can kind of like go 1-1 in this first week when I think it's one of the tougher weekends, we'll maybe start out all right, and that's what you guys did. So anyway, yeah, I would love to know kind of your perspective going into the weekend and just everything that happened from your POV.
Yeah, well, going into the weekend, everyone knows how important all these matches are because they're not only the seedings for the Major Four in New York, but you get 10 CDL points every single win you get. So we need the 10 CDL points because we're right on the line to qualify for champs. I think we're tied with Florida at like the ninth spot. We're like 5 points behind LAG, 10 points behind LAT, 20 points behind someone else. So the race for champs is insane. It's getting crazy, and it's so important to win at least 3 matches and start a winners bracket going into the major to get that momentum. Because if you go to the major and you win one series, that means you're top 6. That's extra like 20 points or something. So these CDL points are everything, and we were feeling confident going into the weekend, and we came out strong. We clutched up versus Optic. Then that was a great win because I mean it's always like interesting your first match back after not playing for a while, so you kind of want to start off like strong and keep the momentum going. And we won that. I ended up winning 3-1 and won 2 hard points, which is always a good feeling when you can win some hard points. And then unfortunately we lost to the Florida Mutineers the next day, but we knew going into that match it's just going to be the hardest match for one reason. Whenever you play an old teammate that you release, they always come back and beat you. That's just how Call of Duty works. So going into it was like, yeah, it's gonna be the hardest match of the year, and we're kind of just making fun of it. But nah, yeah, I mean, we definitely messed up in that match, like the hard point and controls. We were in control. We were in control of both of those maps, and we kind of just threw it away. So that was a tough loss because we would have been in a really good position if we would have won that.
So, not to touch on a touchy subject, but to touch on it. Like Mike dropped a 1.4, I think, in that match against you guys. Like you guys were all pretty even, like across the board. You were playing as a team, of course. Is there an actual impact that is had on you as a team? Like, let's say he goes off map 1. Like, does it actually mess with your mental when you're going up against a former teammate and he's performing well?
No, not really. Because in the matches when we play people, you could sometimes tell, like you could feel someone's presence on the map if they're like frying. But that's on very rare occasion if someone's like absolutely taking over a game. But with the way Mike plays, he's more so like the backline for the team, like helping his team, looking over him and stuff. And he was playing well, and that's just what he's good at doing. So it wasn't like he was just going in there like absolutely frying. Like we just kind of choked at the end, and yeah. But he was playing good, of course. He was playing good, and I think he's gonna help that Florida team improve a lot because a lot of the things that they needed is what Mike brings well to a team.
Yeah, GG though.
Yeah, GG.
Hard
I mean, it
fought.
definitely feels like it's written into the script. Whenever a player you face an old teammate and the old players playing the old team, they end up pulling off the dub. I think Accuracy did the same thing actually. I think it's just how the COD gods wrote it, and you
Yeah,
just got to deal with it. I do think. I mean, I do think Major Maniac does make that Florida team better.
for
But
sure.
as always, there's kind of a honeymoon period that happens with each team. I mean, we saw it last major where we get Colt or Havoc coming onto the team, and you guys ripped 5-0 in qualifiers. So do you attribute like Colt coming onto the team and that happening in the last stage as like honeymoon period, or was it just like good vibes online, or how was it kind of going into the last major as well?
It was just a mixture of it all. It's really hard to attribute it to one thing. I mean, we just joined in the team, especially when you get a new player. Everyone's going their hardest as can be because you just made a change. You got a new face. Everyone wants to like be their best player and the best team. So I mean, we're just going hard, trying to learn as much as we can in a short amount of time. And when we clutched up when we needed to in those matches leading up to Major 3. So it's always a good feeling when you're clutching up. And then we were playing pretty well overall. So it was just like a good feeling. And it's not easy to like get on the same page so quick, but we don't have much time, so you got to do it.
Another question from me, Dylan, is like, you played both Optic teams, both versions of Optic, with and without Illy. Is there a difference there? Like, does the team feel different? Does going up against them feel different, or do you still feel like you're going up against the same Optic team and you guys just pulled out a really good W there?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say for us because when you're on their team and like communicating with them and playing with them, you could feel it. But when you're playing the game, you don't really worry about what the other team is doing or like how everything's going like that. Like you kind of just go out there and play who you have to play against because you can't really think too much about them. You try to focus on yourself, especially in Vanguard. You have to be on point and focused at all times because if you get caught off guard in this game, usually you're dying, you're losing. So we just play whoever we play against. We don't really think about it too hard. But I know he is a big vocal leader for their team. So I'm sure like they are feeling the effects of like not having one of their loudest voices on the team be there with them.
Yeah, for sure. I'm sure they're happy that they have the placement that they do in the league right now, like while benching, one of their biggest assets.
Yeah. It's not fun to try and have to qualify for COD champs at the end. You want a nice cushion, but it is what it is. Back against the walls, and now you got to turn up.
Heck yeah, we love that. I mean, we don't love that. We don't love having to apply pressure, but I do think like, especially if you look back to last year with this team, I feel like there was some similar kind of vibes going into like stage 5, and we ended up winning that major in such a crazy way as well. So I think this team has a lot of resolve to push back and to find their way. And I think even though it hasn't been obviously exactly what we want at LAN so far, we're still in a really good position to make our mark on the year. Obviously, I'm very biased. I love RØKKR and I work for the team, but but I definitely I genuinely see that like with this team.
Yeah.
I also got to call attention to this in the chat. Rage Machine 420 said, "OMG, it's Kim's son," because usually Kim, your mom, is in the chat every single week.
She is our number one fan.
And so yeah, we stand Kim.
Shout out
She's
Rage Machine.
Awesome, and now you're here.
Mom.
It's just full circle. Let's go, Mom Attach. Let's go. So I guess it's really interesting to do these states of Minnesota RØKKR when we have a guest who's either a coach or a player on the team. And usually what we kind of do is just look at kind of where we are. We are 1-1 in stage 4 right now. We still have 3 more qualification matches, and then obviously the LAN in New York in a couple weeks. So we do lose the head-to-head against Florida for winners bracket, unfortunately. But it doesn't mean that we can't outperform them and still do well in these qualification matches. So from your point of view, Attach, what's the state of Minnesota RØKKR right now? Obviously, I know it's a high pressure time of year, but I'd love to know like what's the vibes like with the guys, and has anything about the routine changed going into the end of the year here?
Yeah, I think right now we're just trying to focus on the maps that we need to improve on the most. So like last week we were practicing a lot or putting a lot of focus on Berlin Hardpoint, and we ended up playing that versus Optic. We won, and we won the match because of it. So that's just figuring out what we're gonna play the following week and really studying and focusing on that is a huge moment. Because all you have to be good is 5 different maps in this game for that weekend. You're not gonna play all the maps. You just gotta focus on the ones that you are gonna be playing over the weekend. So we only have 1 match this week coming up against London, so we're just gonna make sure we're like ready for the maps that we think we're gonna play and get those maps and just take care of business. And then of course across the board though, you still want to improve, whether it be the nade spots, the hill holds, how to break certain hard points, or even play calls and S&D or situations in the clutch. So overall, you still want to be really good because, yes, these qualifiers are very important, but you still have to go to the LAN at the end of the day and be a well-rounded team overall. And you're going to be facing a lot of different teams throughout the weekend, so you got to be ready for anything.
How are the vibes, like overall from the team, like going into this major qualification in general, going into your matches? You know, I know you guys would have loved, of course, a 2-0 start. How are the vibes on the team overall?
I mean, the vibes are solid. We knew it was going to be a tough first week. So going 1-1 isn't the end of the world. We, of course, wish we could have went 2-0 because that means we pretty much only got to win one more match to be guaranteed into winners and just get those extra CDL points. But we know we could beat anyone in the game, and we're feeling confident. Just have to go hard the next couple days in practice until the match Friday. Keep improving because the more time we have together, the better we're just going to get. And because we're still a relatively new team because we only had really one tournament together. Two if you count the Pro-Am. But it's just finding the ways to improve the quickest and be ready for these matches and the tournaments is the main goal right now. But everyone's feeling good.
Right, and if we look ahead here for the rest of Major 4 qualifier, like you mentioned, we do play the London Royal Ravens at 3:30 Central on Friday. We just have one match this weekend, so all the focus is towards London. And then the following weekend, it's Seattle Surge on the Friday, and then on Saturday we play Paris Legion. So, you know, maybe like a lame take, but I really feel like that first weekend was the hardest. I think getting out of it 1-1, coming out of it even, isn't the worst in the world, and it's still time to turn up, baby. It's the end of the year, man. It's the most exciting time.
Yep.
Kim Price in the chat says best episode so far. Let's go, the guest.
She might be a little biased. She's a
little biased. I respect it,
hey,
though.
Mom.
Oh, that's so cute. So I mean, going into the end of the year here, Dylan, we've noticed, and especially since Major Maniacs was off the team, you guys brought on Colt. Your guys' respawn improved quite a bit. We're winning game ones. Like, that's crazy. That's absolutely crazy as a RØKKR fan to have the team winning game ones. It feels really good. I do feel like your guys' S&D is still really solid, but when you have a team change like that and it kind of improves one game mode like hardpoint or control, but then hurts others like S&D, how do you guys end up like finding the equilibrium there? Do you think there's kind of like a bounce back to the middle there where you're kind of more well-rounded, like you were saying?
Yeah, it's really just focusing because when you're switching out players, it changes like the whole role, like all the roles that people play. Because when Mike was on the team, I was using an SMG in a lot more situations in search and destroy and making plays around the map. Now with adding Colt, Eli or Standy and Havoc are the ones like making plays, trying to get first bloods and pushing stuff on the map. And Preston and I kind of just like post up, sit back and like look over them now. So it's an adjustment for everyone. It's an adjustment for everyone, but you just kind of have to get used to it. And one of the things that we got to focus on in S&D is just being able to take some rounds slower, spread the map, get information, and then work with that information that we get to plant a certain bomb site or get a certain first blood on the map or something. Because we're really good at getting aggressive in S&D, but we have to be able to play it both ways, be able to get aggressive and then be able to like kind of chill, let the game come to us and read what we got to do in the middle of the situation and do it.
Is situational plays like the most important aspect to winning an S&D in this game, or is that in all CODs? Like as a pro player, like is being able to adjust on the fly and do what's right in the moment when someone goes rogue, someone flanks that you didn't think was going to flank, the other team runs a different route, goes to a different bomb site. Like, is that what is most important? Is the best teams can adjust in the middle of a round?
Yeah, definitely. Whether it's adjusting in the middle of the round or even after a couple rounds in the game, like you might notice a team is hard countering your strategies early on in the game. They might come out hot and win the first 2 rounds, and then you kind of have to like see what they were doing and work your way around that. Because especially with our team, everyone like is very ready for S&D because they just know how good of a search and destroy team we are. So they're always like doing their homework, prepping a lot, and then trying to like hard counter us. So it's kind of like playing some mind games, like maybe keeping some shots the same or switching up just a little bit to give them a different look. And at the end of the year, everyone is just at like getting to like that level where you pretty much know everything there is to do in search and destroy. It's just who has better teamwork. And then the the intangibles in Search and Destroy, because there's just some players who are naturally good at clutching and being in the 2v3s or 1v2s and just know good position, have good positioning, and there's others who might not have it as much. So we have a lot of good S&D players on our team, and it makes it so like even if we're down 3-5 like we were at Optic, we know we can come back and win that map. So it's just having that belief that you could do it and knowing each one of your players on the team is good at it.
I got to give a shout out to Tanoosh in the chat. He said, "Ask this man what he eats every morning to drop a 1.1 in the league."
Well, usually I'll work out before the gym sometimes. If I have time, I'll make some oatmeal, put some blueberries in it, go work out or eat that, go work out, come back, make 3 eggs, get ready, shower and all that stuff, and then drink a protein shake before I go to the office. Maybe bring maybe slice some apples up for my walk over to the office, and that's usually my go-to breakfast or my go-to get ready for the day meal.
I'm writing that one down. That sounds super healthy, and I just feel like I could too drop a 1-1 in the league if I just were to make the eggs and do everything you just said.
Hey, it's good stuff.
Looking at the main topics here that we have for the podcast, we need to beat London, obviously. I think, and we had Coach Saint on last week, and he mentioned that you guys are just kind of looking at everything right now as you know, it's a must win. It's must win to make sure that you get in that winner's bracket for the Major 4 LAN in New York. So do you look at it like that, or does that apply like pressure, or is it just like, I mean, I think London's kind of, knock on wood, they've slid a little bit as of late. They started the year really hot. They've been sliding a little bit. How do you guys like look at the remaining games here for these qualifiers?
Yeah, I mean, each game's going to be tough, especially at the end of the year when everyone really knows all the possibilities. It just comes down to who has the better teamwork and trust in each other at this moment, and who shows up more on that day. London, I know they like bounced back a little bit. I think they beat Toronto. Did they beat Toronto?
3-1.
They beat Toronto 3-1. Yeah, I think they just did, because I know they got Gizmo back in their roster, which is their original roster. They started to slide, like you said earlier in the year, but they came back, and now it looks like they're playing pretty well. So no match is going to be an easy one right here, and we're just going to be ready for whoever we play, whether it's London, Seattle, then Paris. Like, we got to win all those matches, because like I said earlier, those 10 points are so important for champs, and then also to get in that winner's bracket for New York. But at the end of the day, like, you can't really think about your opponents too much. You got to really focus on yourselves, because we know, like, when we play, the only times we lose is when we're beating ourselves. We've never really been like outplayed in a match where it's like, damn, like this team just destroyed us. It's always been like, oh, we messed up here, 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 and here, and here. And as a team with a new player and still like trying to learn everything as fast as possible, it's going to happen. So when the losses come, you have to really learn from them so it doesn't happen again. And that's just our main focus, especially after that loss versus Florida, to make sure we do not repeat some of the same mistakes we made, and we're all getting on the same page. So when it comes tournament time, we have good fundamentals to fall back on, and we're ready to clutch up in whatever we need to do.
What's important, Dylan, to focus on when you've been on a number of teams, world champion? You know, what's important to when you're bringing on a new player to make sure that they can assimilate quickly into like what you guys do, because they've been playing on other teams. Havoc's been on a whole bunch of teams. He's seen success in the past. Like, how do you make sure that he's adopting what you guys do at Minnesota or whatever teams you've been on in the past? Like, what's important at the beginning of that?
It sounds cliche, but it's really like growing and learning about each other together, because you don't want to completely change someone's play style. Clearly, it was working before for them, and they were finding success. It's kind of like when we had Eli or Standy last year when we first picked him up. He's a very talented player, really good at Cold War, and then he's still a very talented player, really good at Cold War, but we kind of implemented like the teamwork aspect into his game more so. Because challengers, it's really like there is a little bit of teamwork, but it's a lot of just raw skill. And like some of the best players just outplay people and just destroy them because they have more talent. They're smarter. They have better positioning, whatever it may be. So trying to get Colt to use his talent, because he's disgusting at this game and he's really good across all game modes, and then fitting him into our system to where he's still using his talent, but then when it's his time to like use teamwork and work together with each other, everyone's comfortable doing it. I know what he's looking at, or I'm looking over him, and him and Eli are like finding that synergy as a sub duo. So really just finding what works for each person and then trying to put it together so we all are on the same page in the match.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'd say Colt's got pretty good vibes. I don't know anything because I'm not in the matches or the scrims with you guys, but I see that dude around the office and he's chilling, man. He's chilling. I like it.
Yeah.
I think it does help sometimes because we were one of two, maybe three teams that stuck going from Cold War into Vanguard. And whenever you're switching Call of Duties every year, sometimes the roles and the players phase themselves out, not because of how they're playing, but just how the team is kind of structured. So bringing in that breath of fresh air is hopefully super helpful. And yeah, I think, with the coaches we have, I think we'll be able to get stuff right here at the end of the year. I've got here new rosters results here. We've got Boston has a new person, LAG, London, Florida, Paris, Kingdom, and Attach. I'd love to know, what was your standout performance or team that you saw play that had just recently made a change and debuted a new lineup this past weekend?
I gotta say Paris, man. They just looked so. No, I'm just joking.
I was just gonna say probably none of them because I'm pretty sure they all lost at least one match.
Boston beat Optic though, which probably to them was I don't know. Boston needs W's right now to keep their seeding. That's I think they do need wins, and so even going 1-1, I don't know. You mentioned that you think that they didn't look that good. I think Nero fried against Optic.
He was going crazy.
That dude was going bananas on the map. I think I saw his stats posted earlier, but losing 3-0 to LAT, that wasn't good.
Yeah. It just when a new roster, there's only one or two matches, so you didn't really get a big sample size. But when you lose a first match or go 1-1 or even 0-2 with a new roster, it definitely is very demoralizing because you're not going to find instant success usually. That's not how it works. But it is nice when it does happen. So you kind of have a little more faith in your teammates. But I would say after this next weekend, we'll really see which rosters are working out and which aren't. Because one or two matches really isn't that big of a sample size. So we got to wait and see a little bit to see what these teams are really built like.
I'd say for the Paris, listening sounded the exact same. It was Temp screaming at people. Not listening really. They feel more like a challengers team right now in terms of what you said earlier, Dylan, with just going off of their skill and trying to win off of their skill rather than teamwork. I think that was a challenge before as well. I do think that Donnie's kind of set himself apart on that team all year, and hopefully that makes him find a spot on another team, or maybe maybe they wipe everybody but him. I don't know, going into next year, because I think losing this weekend, they're officially out of champs, and so they have a lot of opportunities and a lot to do. I heard somebody mention that it was weird for Johnny to come in on that team that pretty much was chalked. And they, is it good for his stock or not? And I kind of wanted to get your opinion on that. If you're in challengers and you come into a team that has no chance of making champs, and they're not the laughing stock of our league, right? They're still one of the 12 best league teams in the world. But they have not been able to find a lot of success consistently all year long. Do you think that it helps his stock to come into the league and maybe try to show what he can do in these couple of matches they have left? Or would you advise a challengers player if they reached out to you to kind of continue to grind in challengers until next year?
Yeah, for his position, it really depends. If he joined Paris and they start winning a lot, yes, it would definitely help his stock. But when you join a team who they pretty much, I think with that loss, you said they're already out of champs. So it's hard to know how people are going to react. Some people might not try as much in practice or in the tournament or in the matches because they're it's already done. Even though they want to try their hardest, it's hard when you've been having a rough year so far and then it's officially over. This is your last moment. Or you might even go harder. It just really depends on the person. But personally, I would say it's probably better to just grind it out in challengers unless you got a pretty decent contract, make a little bit of money. And I'm pretty sure Johnny's only 18 years old. So really young. And getting the league minimum is $50,000. So he's at least on $50,000, I think. I don't know if he's signed like a 14-day contract
Yeah.
or whatever, but it probably would have been best to like grind it out and wait for another opportunity. But I mean, he still has his opportunity to like show what he can do in these upcoming matches in the New York Major, and if he does well there, then it could go really well for him.
That's a good point. A lot of Challengers players have definitely been picked up over the last 2 years in bigger numbers than we've ever seen, you know, so yeah. I mean, I think he was thinking I'll just get in there and show my stuff and hopefully shine enough that a team might pick me up.
Yeah, probably.
And that's kind of how the whole the like Paris team feels, especially now that we like know they're for sure chalk not going to champs. Like they don't play like a team enough. It just looks like they're playing for their own kind of reels and to really make a name for themselves. I guess yeah, it's super interesting that you would probably advocate for that person or most players to stay in challengers and really keep grinding. I think it might be good that he's on Paris just to get seen a little bit more, but I guess anyone who needs to know about upcoming players might already know about him from challengers, so maybe it's not that much of a big difference there. If we're looking at NYSL, they made a change and they went 2 and freaking 0. Attached, just full disclosure, Kingdom is NYSL stan. They are currently in first place for major. It's their own tournament. You were on NYSL at one point, Dylan, and you guys won your own major.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that NYSL is trending towards just an insane major four and making champs? What did we figure out, Kingdom, what they'd have to do to make champs? They're ranked 11th in the league right now.
Gotta make winners minimum and probably have to place top 3, I think.
They'd probably have to win all of their qualifier matches and then get top 3 at their own majors.
I think they can lose, but I think they can lose 1 or 2. It depends on what everybody else does. You know,
True.
It's around that. If they can make some progress up the list, that wouldn't be good for the RØKKR, of course. But it's like if they can make some progress up the list, I think they can lose 1, maybe even 2 in qualifiers, but then they'd have to place like top 2. You know, so it really, I haven't done all the math. I just think this is the greatest redemption arc for Krim because I really don't. For this dude not to be in champs makes no sense to me. I don't care where he places at champs, but for Krim 6 not to be at champs and be in the GOAT, winningest player, and their team actually looks good. I'm kind of curious what Dylan's opinion is if you guys scrim them, because their team looks a lot better to me. But they've looked good for a while. Ever since they've dropped Clay, I think they've been trending in the right direction. So kind of curious of your opinion here, Dylan.
Yeah, I mean, New York, I don't know exactly what they have to do, but I'm assuming they have to go like at least 4-1 or 5-0 and then place probably top 3, maybe even top 2 or win their home series to make it. But they're going to have to do a miracle run. And it will definitely, if they do it, it will be one of the most impressive things in Call of Duty history. But that team, that roster, I would say they're definitely one of the best hardpoint teams in the game. Their S&D and controller is solid as well. But they're a really good team. Like if I had to rank them, I'd at minimum rank them in the top 5 of teams in this game. So I think they're actually a really good team right now, and they have the pieces to be able to make a run like this. They have talented rookies. They have like the veterans, so they definitely could do it. But it's going to be challenging for sure. But I think they're actually really good right now.
Dylan, have you played with Kismet, and like what insight do you have into him? Because like watching him play and listening to how he actually is unafraid. I talked about this on the last show. He seems unafraid to counter Krim's thoughts, and then it put Krim in a position where he actually is like listening. And so I don't know if you've had any experience with him, but I'm just curious if you have any insight into Kismet.
Yeah, I don't really. I've never teamed with him or anything like that. He's always been a really good player and a really aggressive player. And then he's been a pro before, so like he's been around, and his team was finding a lot of success in this game earlier in Challengers. So I think he had a really good grasp of how to play this game at a high level with his team. And you kind of you want to hear his opinion about things, how he thinks the game should be played, because I'm sure not everything he says is going to be right, but you pick the things that sound good and are right, add them into your team's game, and then kind of just grow as a team. But yeah, he's just a really passionate player as well. He's always bringing the fire, always bringing the energy. So he is, I feel like, the spark plug for that team. Like if he's frying and popping off, that team's going to go really far.
My last question on NYSW. Curious your thoughts around Hydra and his future in this league.
Hydra, I mean, he's had a really good couple of years. He had, of course, better placings last year. He was still playing well this year, but doesn't really have the placings to back it up. So it's one of those things where everyone's like, free Hydra, free Hydra. But this roster is doing pretty good right now. So I could see them going far. I mean, they won the Pro-Am. They had a disappointing loss or lost a couple of losses at the last tournament, but that round 5 or round 11 versus Seattle Surge, if they win that to get for the momentum and start off winners bracket, already be top 6, you never know what happens after that. So that was definitely a heartbreaking loss, but I think he's an insanely talented player, and he's going to be in the league for a while. He just has a very good understanding, especially in Respawn and S&D, like what he needs to do with his life, how to play his life, and how to be like a really impactful in the game. So I just think he's a really talented player.
Awesome.
Heck yeah, man. I'm not gonna cheer for NYSL because I think them doing well could implicate bad things for RØKKR. But if we get into champs and they get into champs, that'd be kind of cool. Like you said, Kingdom, no champs, no Crim 6 sounds foreign and like it should never happen. One last topic we have here: Optic struggles. So they go 0-2. Obviously, they are playing with a sub. Proloot in for Illy. I'm not going to say that I got a crystal ball, but I kind of like predicted this, right? Kingdom, I was like, dude, they're already in champs. They're playing with a sub. I'm not saying they're not going to try. I'm not saying they're mailing it in. They're still a really good team with Proloot. But I do wonder, just psychologically with this team, like, would they be playing different if their back was against the wall, maybe? Or are they just genuinely struggling because they need Illy?
I personally do not think Rambo Ray would let this team chalk anything. I think he would make the sophisticated decision to not play Illy until champs, because that's smart. Let his thumb get as much rest as it needs. We're already at champs. Hopefully we can keep the 2 seed. I do know that I think that Seth would be impacted by losses regardless of if it was with a sub or not. And so I don't think he likes this. I think it could change the way he plays, only because it would change his attitude coming into a match, like predicting like another L or something. Like starting 0-2, they didn't want to do that. I don't care if they're with a sub or not. Like I've always said this about Scump: he's a winner and wants to win, period. Like that is one of his favorite things about playing Call of Duty, and as long as he thinks he can keep winning something and winning tournaments, he will keep playing. And so I think they want to win. I think they're in the lab trying to fix things, even though they know Illy's going to come back after this. I think they're still going to try to figure things out with Proloot in the short term, so that they can keep that fear in the other teams. Like, you don't want to show up to the next, like to champs, and you played horrible like, think about what happened with the RØKKR last year. Played exceptionally well, the best reverse sweep we've ever seen in the history of Call of Duty at the event before champs, and then it was like, oh, okay, well, we're scared of this team. They look like we're scared of this team and their potential. And you guys got the reputation of playing together and of teamwork and of it's never chalked. And so I don't think Optic wants to lose any of what they have. They want their status and their standing in this league. There was a little while where people were putting Optic above FaZe because they just looked better and they were the FaZe kryptonite. This current roster, I saw power rankings today from, I think, Dexerto that dropped them all the way down to like 5th or 6th. So I don't think they want that. That's just my personal opinion.
What do you think, Dylan? Do you think if since Optic's playing with a sub that they're in some way psychologically chalking themselves, or do you think they just, because they don't have Illy, they're not? It's got to be hard to have a sub come in and still see a lot of success. So what's your kind of take? Do you think Optic will bounce back?
Yeah, I think the Optic will bounce back for sure. I mean, players of that caliber who've been around for that long and knows what it takes to win. And they're not the type of players who are just going to be like, oh, everything's okay, like let's just chill. I don't know if this happened, but I know there was like rumors of Illy coming back after Major 3 or something. Yep. And I personally thought that he was coming back after. Of course, I'm not in their camp. I don't know exactly what's going on. But I guess his finger or his thumb or whatever, I think his thumb isn't good enough to play. So it is weird. And maybe like his teammates they had their hopes up, like, he's coming back and stuff, but then he just couldn't. And then it's kind of like demoralizing again. Like, damn, like we can't get like our main core starting roster back. It definitely takes its toll, because I mean, Proloot's a really good player and they did really well last year. I think they went 4-1 in matches, or 5-0. Oh, 4-0. I think 4-1.
They did pretty well.
4-1. and they did well. So it's not like it's ProLu's just some terrible player. ProLu's a really good player, really smart. But it's just hard when you you're so close to having your original roster back and you just can't get it. So it could be wearing on them mentally, and I'm sure it is, but they're professionals. They know how to take care of business. So no matter who they have on their roster, they're going to show up and go their hardest.
100%.
Word. Also, more Optic news. Envy no longer exists. It is now Optic. So now you had Envy had what? A Rocket League team. Here's the announcement here on the screen. After 15 years in esports, Envy have announced they'll be retiring the brand and will now become officially Optic. Who's the first player you think of when you see the Envy logo? Oh, dude. I think of Foreplay. I think of Skylar
Stainville, you
from
taking it back?
Yeah. Stainville too.
Yeah, Stainville.
I think of Skylar when I see Envy. I think he founded the team. And yeah, Envy has just such a rich history. Dylan, I can't recall. Did you ever play for Envy in your past? I don't think you did. Okay.
I never did.
Oh my god, thank God. I know what I'm talking about. I was like, he didn't play for Envy ever.
I
know you played on FaZe and was it Denial, FaZe?
Rise.
What was between FaZe and where was it?
No, I was just straight from Denial to FaZe, but Rise was before.
Denial.
Rise
too.
Yeah.
Dang, and then you went from FaZe to NYSL to Rokkr?
Yeah, well, FaZe to EG on the loan, and then to New York, and then to Rokkr. Yeah, but I was still technically on FaZe. FaZe is still paying my salary, but I was just on loan to EG for a little bit.
Yeah, I remember that now. Yeah, this is crazy. I think maybe I don't know why they didn't just do this from the start. It seemed like their approach was to have FPS titled teams be under Optic, and then the Rocket League team and the to be under Envy. It even seemed like they had separate content creators. You had Envy content creators and then Optic content creators. Curious to see how they will start to bunch those people together and what they're actually going to start to do. A lot of the content that they do in the hex quarters has that core Optic group. So I'll be curious to see if they start to bring in some of those other I guess retired Envy new Optic members. So yeah, I think to me this was a no-brainer once the the buying of Optic happened. I thought this would happen right away, but it just happened a little later. What are your guys' takes? Envy, I think they have one of the best logos I've ever seen, and just a really cool name. The Team Envious. I know I used to hate them back in the day because they were super competitive with Optic, and I also saw them trying to start competing with content, and I was like, screw Envy, I'm an Optic homer. But yeah, they did a lot of great things in the last 15 years, and it's been super, super crazy to just see how it's evolved.
Yeah,
I can go first, sir. You can go first. Go ahead.
You want me to go first?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'll take it away. Yeah, Envy is just a legendary Call of Duty brand. I remember way back in the day, back in the COD 4 GB days, them being one of the biggest teams on the ladder and always and playing in all the seasons. So I just remember seeing that as I was growing up and being wow, Envy, Fear were those are some of the coolest teams back in the day.
Team Fear was cool too.
Yeah. And then Envy did a really good job transitioning into other esports as well. They won in CS, they won in other esports. So it's really sad to see it go because they had really cool branding, the name, the logo, even the Dallas Empire logo was awesome, and the Empire branding was awesome. So overall, it was just a really good organization, and they always wanted to win and constantly win. So that's a legendary organization right there, especially in Call of Duty where it came from. So it sucks to see it go, but Optic is Optic. So I think Optic is just more recognizable to everyone. I think it's just Optic is one of the biggest teams in the world. So it's one of those things where you stick with kind of the old good day grassroots stuff, or do you try to take Optic to the next level? Because having two orgs and names under the same company would be kind of weird and tough to deal with. So I think just Optic is Optic, and it's going to keep growing like it always does.
Yeah, I'd say shout out to Stro, one of the best masterminds we have in our game, and in esports in general. When it comes to building successful teams, I think he mentioned on the eavesdrop that he thinks Envy, and I think he's right, has the highest average placing across FPS esports in the ones that they've competed in. I think 5 out of 7 champs, he was like, yeah, we were second place. And, you know, shout out to Merc. He's one of the players I think of when I think of Envy beating Optic at champs. I could see on his face what that meant to him when he did it. And shout out to everybody that's came through there, you know, like Stainville and all the old school guys. And shout out to Foreplay, who dropped a screenshot of like Envy's 90% win rate on PCL ladders back in the day. Like,
dude, yeah, they went crazy. Also, Foreplay is one of the greatest gamer tags of all time. Like, that's a sick name. Bro.
Facts. And he's now become one of the greatest businessmen in our
industry.
I think he runs like 5 different businesses. Like,
think of anything, he'll market it. He is amazing. Shout out Skylar.
Bananas.
Nah, he's the man.
Something Dylan said that from a perspective, because, you know, I work in talent management, like, so something that Astro said, because I was wondering immediately, like, why would you do this? You know, like, these are such great brands. Why would you? I was frustrated when the Empire went away. I loved that branding. And I thought it was one of the best new franchises in our league. But Stro said something so intelligent. He was like, well, I brought it to the board. It was my decision. I think we're wasting resources by promoting 2 brands. So it's kind of like what Attach said. It's like, you can't spend resources on promoting Envy and Optic. Like, when you go to a brand that you like, let's say you go to Monster Energy and you're like, yo, we want to sign a partnership with you guys, represent our org. And it's like, okay, so who am I representing, Optic or Envy or both? Well, then I'm going to come up with...
Yeah.
And so if you combine that into one powerhouse, then you're competing with FaZe. Then you're competing with 100 Thieves or an LAT. Like, and I think that's what they wanted to do. And that's something that him and Hector said on the podcast, is that, like, their competitors have one brand. They want to have one brand too. It's a lot easier when you're pushing one brand forward, when you're making graphics for one brand, announcements for one brand, merch for one brand. And so, very intelligent decision by Stro to actually be the one that decided to do it, because I can be sure that Hector would have never asked for it, and anybody on the board probably neither. Like, hey, could you get rid of Envy? Like, that'd be a weird question. And so, GG's to Stro and Hector, that dynamic duo. You know, those guys have both changed the game. They've stayed around along with Temper and others, like, the entire time Call of Duty's been around, and they're again revolutionizing things and doing something completely different that's going to continue to make a splash and be a standard setting organization, you know, and that's what they've continued to do. And so GG's to both of those guys. Like, I'm proud of them.
GG's in the chat, indeed. Rip Envy, still one of the best logos of all time. Look at it. Anyway, yeah, it's going to be cool to see just how Stro and Hector continue to work together. I think it's a smart decision for both. I mean, obviously you had Envy that was like kind of like obviously one of the winningest FPS orgs, very competitive. It was always like Stro always kind of is made fun of, like t-shirt or hoodie orgs as he called them, and like content stuff. And then you see him, you know, you see them doing well, but you see them in Texas last year, I think at 2 events in Arlington where they're supposed to own, getting booed, right? I think that has to impact how you see your fan base and local market growing. And I think this is another smart like move and acquisition. So shout out that. I didn't mean that to be a backhanded compliment. I literally think they're doing like the best idea that they could is really unifying under one brand. All right. We're going to get into predictions, but before we do, real quick, I want to make sure to let you guys know about Prize Picks. We're super grateful that they're supporting the podcast. I'm going to take a little bit to just tell you a little bit about who they are, what they do, and why you should check them out. Prize Picks is the easiest way to play daily fantasy for both esports and traditional sports. If you don't know how daily fantasy works, it's super straightforward. You can check out the games that are coming up and place props on players that are based on projections, like banging the over on the number of eliminations by Scumpy, or taking the under on a Steph Curry. Not sure why you do that, but go ahead. The esports that they have that you can play are Call of Duty, Valorant, Rocket League, and other esports. Plus, obviously, when the NFL starts up in the fall, I'm going to be all over that. The projections are posted a few days before the games happen, so you can always check back and see which player props are available. Bam! That's it. It's that easy. Depending on how many over-unders I make, I can win up to 10 times what I put in. If you want to give Prize Picks a shot, don't forget to use promo code ROTATION when you sign up for a match deposit up to $100 when you create a new account. Remember, you must be 18 and over to play daily fantasy on Prize Picks. And remember, play responsibly. Don't go crazy. Don't go stupid. enjoy yourself. Anyway, shout out to Prize Picks, sponsoring the podcast. Let's freaking go. Let's get into our predictions here. Attach, I kind of gave you the rundown earlier in terms of, you could say map counts if you want. You could just predict winners. You don't have to predict RØKKR matches. I'll leave that up to you. I do want to be cognizant of time as well. We can kind of go rapid fire through these predictions and maybe only truly highlight a couple of the matches if that makes more sense to you guys. Let's start with FaZe and Ultra. Low-key a banger, but then Ultra, I don't know, feels like they had a little bit of a hangover from their major. I'm not sure what's going on with them. And obviously FaZe is nasty, so I'm going to take FaZe 3-1 here. Attach, who you got in FaZe versus Ultra on Friday?
I'll pick FaZe. Let's go with FaZe.
Pick FaZe.
Always
Kingdom.
a safe bet to go with them.
Safe bet. That is a safe bet. Honestly, they're nasty. Kingdom, who you got?
I'm going to say FaZe 3-1. I think Ultra have been better than we've seen them in a couple of qualifiers, but FaZe is just a better team. Safe bet.
What was the map count you said?
3-1.
3-1. Nice. Hey, you copied
FaZe
my
has
homework?
Celium. That's like an automatic cheat code.
That is true. RØKKR versus the Royal Ravens. That's a lot of R's right there. I'm gonna go, dude, and it's not just because you're here, Attach. I swear, it's not just because you're here on the podcast. I got 3-0 Royal Ravens. I don't care about Gizmo. Frick London. Let's bring it to them. We need the momentum. Let's go. I mean, it doesn't even matter what the map count is. I do think we'll win, but I'm manifesting a 3-0.
That would be great. I got faith in my teammates. Their skills, our skills as a team, our smarts. So, I think we can win any match. So we're feeling confident. But you got to go out there and do it on that day.
Heck yeah, it's any given Friday at 3:30 Central. Any given Friday.
Yep.
Kingdom, who you got?
I got RØKKR 3-2. I think to Avic's clan in the chat, RØKKR in 5. I think this one's going to go the distance. Royal Ravens are stepping their game up a bit, but RØKKR have the ice and S&D, and I think it's going to show up in this match.
I love that, dude. The S&D ice. Seattle Surge versus Boston Breach. Dude, Surge is the most impressive team to me this year with just how they've been able to maneuver. Obviously, we got Lamar accuracy. We love accuracy. He's got 3 young guys around him. They're going nuts. Boston Breach has a little bit of the same vibe, but not really. I know Breach, obviously, they really need to win. I think we technically want Breach to win or lose. I don't know. I'm trying to think of the actual
We want
standings.
Boston to lose. We want Boston to lose.
We want Boston to lose.
Seattle's like 3rd or 4th in the standing, so they're already guaranteed champs.
Oh, dang, they zipped up there. Okay, let's go, Surge. Dude, I got Surge.
No, we want Surge
I'm
to
like
win.
going crazy. I think 3-0, man. Surge 3-0 over Breach. I'm manifesting that too. Keep it a quick Friday.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to say Surge 3-1. Lamar, like, people need to tip their hat and give this man his stripes, like, this dude put together a phenomenal team, and they've been pretty consistent all year. Even when they've been losing, like, you could see their potential in those losses, and if they're playing at the highest level towards the end of this, they could pass Optic for that 2nd seed. It'll take a lot of W's, but it's possible depending on what happens with Optic. 3-1 Surge over the Breach, who've got Nero. They've got methods. They got a good team, but I think they're going to get fried.
Yeah, I got to go with Surge. They've been frying recently, so I think they'll keep it up until they play me. Then I'm going to shut them all down because they're all my sons.
Yes, let's go, Dylan. I love the confidence. Here we got Florida versus Royal Ravens. Come on, Ravens, you can do this. Even though I just said you're going to get 3-0 by RØKKR, you've got to beat Florida here. Do it for us, please.
Yeah.
Hey, they're going to get slapped in the mouth on Friday and need to bounce back on Saturday. That's what I'm hoping. That's what I'm hoping. I got Royal Ravens 3-2 over Florida. It'd be super interesting if that actually happens.
I can go next. I think Florida actually is going to take this one. I know it's better if they don't, but I think it's going to be a competition. I think Dylan knows it too. Like, you got to, at this point in the game, you got to try to win everything when you're trying to get into champs safely. Like, you can't really worry about what these other teams are doing. And so I'm going to say that they're going to still be vibing off the juice and the kind of honeymoon, and they're going to catch a W 3-1 versus Ravens.
Nice.
Yeah, as much as I like seeing Mike find success in Call of Duty, I gotta go with London because the pro points are getting close. So I mean, we just gotta go out there and win. Of course, you want the teams around you to lose, but at the end of the day, it's more important for you just to go win. If you win, the pro points in the standings, they'll take care of themselves for you. So, but
Yeah.
just to be safe, hopefully London wins.
Yeah, just to be safe. I like that. I mean, we are technically, I think, still in control of our own destiny. So
Yeah, for sure.
that feels good too. So let's just keep trending that way. Be good vibes. We got Texas Optic versus the Baguettes, the Paris Legion. I think Texas has got this, man. They're 3-0. Kingdom's got 3-0. Attach, who you got?
I'd have to go Texas or Optic. I mean, they went 0-2. It's the same thing that happened in stage 1. They went 0-2. They got reverse swept. We played them, beat them, so they were 0-2, and then their bounce back match was against Paris. Last time they beat them, and then went on a crazy run to win the major. So history might be repeating itself again. I don't know, but I'm just gonna go with Optic Texas.
Deja vu, love it. Seattle Surge, New York Subliners. I mean, just for the culture and what we were talking about earlier with NYSL turning it around and getting there. I think they're not going to be able to do that. I want them to. It makes for great entertainment, but I do think Surge is just so nasty right now. They're in form. I've got Surge 3-1 here over Subliners.
I'm seeing, so Surge plays RØKKR week 3.
The next week, yeah.
Oh, this is hard. There's something in me that just wants NYSL to win this, but I think this will be their one loss, maybe. I think they might get that W on Sunday. We'll talk about it. But I'm going to say the Surge are just on another level right now. And if they do smoke the breach, they'll be ready for whoever's next following day. I'm going to say Surge, but I'm going to say 3-2. That to your point, Dylan, NYSL's hardpoint has been really good. They've been playing that game mode right for a long time. And I think with the right players, which they do have right now, that marquee match is going to be a barn burner. It's going to be a banger. And so 3-2, Surge.
Yeah, this is one of the hardest matches to predict for sure. Because I would say Seattle's also one of the best teams in the game, and they're also just really, really, really good at hardpoint. They're really good at the other game modes, but I think it just comes down to whoever wins the hardpoints between this team, to be honest.
Yeah.
I do think Seattle's a little bit better at control and SND, but it can go either way. To Seattle, they are guaranteed. They're feeling nice and coming up to a win. New York, they're fighting for their lives right now to have a chance at champs. So it's gonna be. I can't even predict this match, but I'll go with Seattle. I'll go with Seattle.
Nice one. Atlanta FaZe versus LAG. I think LAG is gonna start to lag in the standings, and I hope that does happen. Let's go FaZe. That was the worst pun ever. Kingdom shaking his head. I got FaZe. Dude, I got a lot of 3-0s. Am I blasted, dude? I think that these matchups are gonna go kind of easy, except for like the Surge Subliners match. I got FaZe trio over LAG.
LAG is the new Paris, man. It's unfortunate.
Oh, shoot, damn! Don't put that on them.
No. But here's what I'm saying. Like, if you I watch their videos, right? Their content that they put out, and I watched, like Austin after a map 1 loss gets so frustrated that he couldn't get his mind back into the next game mode. Now that's normally what he would do, right? But the players that are around him, they can't handle that. They're not going to play well. Like, not every player can take Crim 6. I mean, we've talked about this. Not every player can take a slasher and deal with that and be able to go to the next map and chalk it up and let it go. When he's blaming you for what you did wrong, like over and over and over, I think that team, unfortunately, is in a really bad position right now and could easily slide well out of contention for champs, which is the best opportunity, in my opinion, for the Minnesota RØKKR to make champs. So I'm going to say 3-0 for sure, but not just because of its phase. I'm probably going to predict lag to lose a lot of their matches, because of where they're at right now.
Yeah, I definitely think you got to take FaZe in this one. I mean, LAG did just make a roster change, and they went 0-2. And their bounce back match after going 0-2 with their new roster is FaZe. So this is the most important match for them of the season by far. They need to win this match. If they win this match, they still have a fighting chance. But to go 0-3, that guarantees you in losers bracket going into the major. So if over. They have to win this match. But I got to go with FaZe winning.
That's rough.
Yeah, and then you look at the next match that's the next day. It's actually LAG twice in a row, and they're playing Boston Breach, which I think, obviously, Breach is still a formidable opponent, but they're no phase. If what we're saying is true, LAG went 0-2 with the new roster. We think they're going to lose to phase. They'll be 0-3 by this point. Are they just going to tilt, or are they going to have the resolve? And I don't think that team has it. No offense to them. Zinni, yes, Winnie. I got Boston Breach 3-2 over LAG on Sunday.
I'm gonna say Boston Breach 3-1 over LAG. You have people like Pierce and Slasher alone. They're gonna lose it when they lose to FaZe. Like, and it's not a bad thing. Like, there's good egos, there's bad egos, all that kind of stuff. But certain players just don't work well when stuff like that happens. And this is it's gonna be a problem for this roster, in my opinion. Just the teamwork isn't gonna all of a sudden appear out of nowhere. Boston Breach at least has teamwork. I think even when they're losing, they're trying to play together. And I think Zinni's going to push for that and continue to. So I'm going to say 3-1 Boston Breach.
Kingdom, you forgot Pierce is currently not on the active roster for LAG.
I forgot
it's
they
Neptune,
just made their change.
Huke,
You're right.
Spart, and Austin.
So Neptune, Huke, Spart. So Slasher, they did the right thing. So they did the right thing in that regard, in my opinion, because he's definitely a worse option when it comes to like dealing with Slasher, who I love and is a good dude and can actually shoot pretty straight. But needs to be on the right team. Regardless, I think those three guys, Huke has proved that he's in a different mindset than he was like when he played with Krim. He's like, I'm just trying to win. I want to be a good teammate. I think we just need to have better teamwork. Huke is behind Slasher's objectives and what he's trying to do with the team. I don't know. We've seen Neptune struggle with this same type of attitude in person in Krim 6. I think you're going to see more of the same. My point will still stand. I think 3-1.
I think I'm going to switch it up. I think LAG's bouncing back and winning this match. I got faith in Slasher to lead the troops to win this match. So I'm going to go LAG.
Nice. Okay, we're going to track. We do track our prediction points, so we'll track how you do this weekend. We'll see. We'll see how many. We'll see if you just come in here and like pub stomp, basically, prediction-wise. The next match, LAT versus Paris Legion. Trio, right? Am I crazy?
Nah, you might be crazy.
What?
Because Donnie Temp, he always, for some reason, he always does really well against LAT whenever he plays them. So, but I mean, I think LAT will still probably win.
Maybe it'll be like a 3-1. I don't know.
I'm gonna say 3-1. I think if Donnie is gonna show up, yeah, it'll be against these guys. I mean, we had one of the weirdest, like, I don't know if we've seen a double donut search and destroy like we did from Octane, but if they do that again, maybe Paris can get a win, you know. So are you changing your mind there, Dylan?
No, I just look at the schedule. LAT, their only match is on Sunday. Paris has a warm-up versus Optic the day before. Maybe that warm-up, that readiness might be enough to get that win. I mean, we want Paris to win because we want LAT to like.
Yeah, actually.
Let's
manifest this. Should we manifest it?
So, Dylan, I'm just asking because I know everybody doesn't scrim everybody. Do you guys scrim Paris? I'm just asking.
Yeah. No,
okay.
Yeah. Most teams scrim. Yeah. It's just you try to avoid who you're about to play.
A lot better since their team changed. Like they're better to scrim.
Yeah, they've gotten much better in scrims. Like all the teams, they were like smoking teams for that week or so. Leading up to the match. They didn't show it in the match, but they were actually playing really well in the scrims. So
that's what somebody said their honeymoon was good.
Yeah, if they could do it in the match, like it might be pretty entertaining. But yeah, this one's hard to tell. But you got to give it to LAT. I think they'll bounce back, but you just never know.
3-2 LAT for me.
I got 3-0. I almost said 3-1 after everything we just talked about, but I'm gonna go 3-0 LAT. Although I do hope they lose. Come on, Legion, you could do it. You could do it, bro.
Let's get it.
Let's go. All right, last match of the weekend here. Optic versus Subliners. Ooh, this is kind of crazy because Subliners on the come up, Optic's on the come down, but then that usually means that they're going to come back up. I got the green wall, cheering their way through this. Let's go. I think Optic, obviously I'm very biased. I'm a homer. I do think Optic's going to win this match 3-2. It's going to be a classic Scump and Krim battle to the death, bro. Gladiator style. I think it's going to be 3-2 Optic.
I'm gonna have to go with NYSW. I like what Avix said in the chat. What did he say? He said NYSL in 5, C6 finishing scump, sending Optic to losers bracket.
No shot, bro.
And they go 0-3 to start, or well, I guess they'd be 1-3 if they beat Paris. I think honestly, when NYSL is good, they're just hard to beat. I don't care what team it is. I think they stack up good against FaZe. They stack up good against everybody when they are playing well. When they're playing the game like it should be played, which they're always trying to. I think they're hard to beat. I think with ProLoot they have a chance. Not that he's bad. It's just not Illy. His ability to communicate and change plays and be situational is uncanny, as described by Seth. And so I'm going to say NYSL 3-2. I'm going to be crazy. I hope that's an upset. I want the upset points.
Dude, you're drinking that yellow Kool-Aid, bro.
No, we said we weren't talking about the yellow Kool-Aid.
I had to do it. Bro, NYSW stand, man. I don't know how you watch this be an upset. You're going to get mad prediction points and be ahead of me. Okay, karma.
Let's see. I don't know. I'm gonna go Optic for this one. I'm going with Optic. I got a feeling. Actually, I don't know if I got a feeling, but I'm just saying it just to say it. Let's see.
What do you think scoreline?
3-2 Optic.
Woo.
That's what I'm going with.
It'll be a barn burner. I really think so.
Nice
it's gonna
last
be
match
one
of the week. Yeah,
it could low key be one of the best matches of the weekend.
For sure.
Cool. Well, that does it for our predictions. We're gonna go ahead from here and take some fan questions, and then Dylan, we'll get you onto your night here. The fan questions will go quick. Let's bring them up on the screen, Shannon. Let's go. Joe Grave wants to know, what is your favorite RØKKR memory so far? Thank you. Go RØKKR. Dylan, what's your favorite RØKKR memory so far? I think I know it, but maybe you'll surprise us.
Nah, yeah, my favorite memory has to be winning the Major 5 last season.
Oh, so crazy.
It just felt good to win a championship for your organization, all the supporters. It's an amazing feeling. And then seeing people at the bar, jumping on top of the bar, taking their shirt off, whipping around after we won.
Crazy.
That's the memory. That's something that I'll always remember.
That's for sure the same memory, except for I didn't win the event. I was at the bar. It was so I'll tell you that maybe listen, it's not, I'll just tell you how it happened. We were down 0-3, right? Or no, down 0-4 actually. And me and a few people went to the bar to take like a goodbye shot. Like it's our shot. It's a bad day, whatever, it's chalked. We take a shot and we're just kind of like, okay. And then we watch the next map, y'all win. We watch the next map, y'all win. Y'all start coming up. We just start going crazy. we ended up doing more shots. Victory. People are on the bar. The footage that we got that day of just like the wide view of like everyone jumping around when you guys won. It was definitely my favorite RØKKR memory as well. But that's obviously from the fan POV and not the player POV. Like as a player, I can't imagine the feat that it felt like. Like, I know that you've had some pretty famous comebacks in your day. I think you've had a reverse sweep best of 7, obviously best of 5 reverse sweep all the time. But to do it in a best of 9 is just freaking nuts. That's history.
No, definitely. It was a great time. Hopefully we win again for RØKKR soon. That would feel good. Yes. We need that winning feeling.
Let's go. All right, next question here. Thank you, Joe, for the question. Billy, Thick Flare Drip on Twitter. Love the name. In your opinion, what should a future Call of Duty title have to be a perfect competitive game? Wow, I could talk about this at length for hours, but let's just do quick takes. Attach, what should a future Call of Duty have to be perfect for competitive?
This isn't going to happen, but it's definitely a dream. If we could have like a Forge mode, so you could just make certain maps, make like just all that stuff like the old Halo was, because Forge mode would be amazing in Call of Duty. It's never gonna happen though, but that would be my wish.
Did you hear the rumor that it would be in the next Call of Duty? Did you hear that? Or maybe it's
no.
the
They
next.
They didn't say it was gonna be Forge though. They said it was gonna be. Well, there's only one Call of Duty for the next 2 years, so like. But they said there wouldn't be a Forge, but they did say you'll be able to edit maps. That's the teaser, like rumor. But I don't think they'll drop that until. I don't think they would drop that until like a year into the life cycle, because they're gonna have to figure out a way. Like Call of Duty is the best-selling game every year. In the middle of the Modern Warfare 2 2-year life cycle, which is the first time we've had that. Not in competitive, of course, because I
Yeah,
think
it's
it
gonna be
was,
actually
what
super
was it?
interesting.
World War. I forget the old title that was never played competitively, but it's like I think in the middle they'll try to add stuff like that edit feature. That would be amazing for you guys. If as
That'd
Oh,
pro
be
yeah.
players,
so
like, oh my
great.
gosh, like that'd be amazing.
Yeah, people are very creative and they would come up with some amazing maps or just even fun game modes to play or like fun things to do. So that would be my dream in Call of Duty for sure to have like a Forge mode.
Yeah, I would love that. I think it kind of piggybacks off your answer, but in my opinion, what makes a great competitive game is the map design. What are you competitively playing on? What maps? I think we've had some great maps over the years. We've had some terrible maps over the years that were in competitive. And I think that when the game has great maps, the game thrives. I think Black Ops 2 is a super, super good example of that. And yeah, let's just go back in time to Black Ops 2, honestly.
Bring Raid
Kingdom, what do
back.
you think is the. Oh, we're on to the next one. Oh, we're back. Kingdom, what do you
I mean,
think?
I'd agree with you guys. The thing that Call of Duty has never had is what CS:GO has. It's what all these other esports have, where you can perfect a map over like 5-6 years, and it's somehow still entertaining. It's one of the most watched esports in the world, and it's the same game.
Hmm.
Call of Duty has never been able to do that. So we have, and I feel bad for pro players like Dylan and others. I always bring up Theory as a person that I mentioned. It's like I'm happy he's still coaching, but this dude won 2 events, and then like that was the game his career ended on. That's just weird to me. And so it's like I think that COD is unforgiving because it changes every year, and if you're not good at the next title, it doesn't matter how good you were last year. You're not playing. You're going to be on the
Yep.
bench. And so I'd love to see. I'm interested in this Modern Warfare 2 2-year lifespan and what you guys as pro players make of it. I'm excited for that, to be honest.
Heck yeah, dude. Next question here, muted. Who's a player you would team with that you haven't before? So attach. What player can you think of that you would love to team with but you haven't yet?
It's hard to just name one person. I'll trying to think of a player because like there's a lot of new players that I could have wanted to play with like that are just disgusting, like whether it be like the Sims or the Abizis or like the Shotsies. But I'll just give two older heads. I'll say Arcides and Seth Scump. I'll say those two.
Ugh, love to see you play with Seth, man.
I feel like yeah, those are two good answers. Maybe I just have a thing for redheads. I don't know.
Yeah, there you go. But if you're a redheaded COD player, watch out. Attach wants you on the team. So
Enable's going to come out of retirement.
Yeah, I'm bringing Enable back.
yeah, he would be vibes. Another question. Favorite. I think this is questions for Attach. I don't know if he cares about our opinion here, Kingdom and me. But favorite gun across all Call of Duty games. So what's like the GOAT gun for you, Attach?
I would say probably this is hard. I want to say the MSMC in Black Ops 2.
That
Honestly,
would be
yeah,
the correct answer, I think.
yeah, I'd say that. I'd say the MSMC in Black Ops 2. To be honest,
Dude, can you hear the sound? Just imagine the sound real quick.
yeah,
I
it
could
just
see
That's
the like crosshairs of that, like that, man. The iron sights, I mean, of that gun.
Yeah.
Man.
Iron sights are
it's a
classic.
beautiful gun. It's a
God,
beautiful
so
gun.
good.
Shout
Honorable
out to the
mention to
ACR.
the M16 from Call of Duty 4. Maybe I'm a boomer and not a lot of people played COD 4 at this point in its heyday, but yeah, that was a laser.
Oh man, getting a one burst with that gun, it
Yep.
was so smooth. It just
Oh,
Oh, it
felt
was like
so
across
good.
the whole map.
Or like a
Across the
too.
map,
headshot.
yep.
Or like a headshot. You hear that headshot sound? Oh my gosh,
Yep.
it was like the blue tiger or red tiger on it too. The good old days.
Dude, the red tiger on top of the third story on Crash, and I'm just deleting kids when they spawn, and they're trying to get. Dude, never mind. Well, I'm gonna go relive that. Actually, I might go play
COD
some
and coffee, yeah, make it happen.
COD coffee. All right, is this the last question? I believe maybe last or second to last. Adam wants to know what's your favorite restaurant in Minneapolis. I used to live there. So Dylan, have you been have you been doing Minnesota proper? Have you been going out to eat? Have you been kind of exploring the city a little bit, especially now that it's summer? And if so, what's the favorite restaurant?
I've been to a couple really good restaurants, but I can't really remember the names.
I might be able to guess them if you tell me where they were and what they were serving.
I went to this one sushi place that was good, but I have no idea what the name was. It was somewhere downtown. But so I'll
I
just
wouldn't know
what I don't even know. I'll just go with some basic. What was my last really good meal at? I think it was the Ruth Chris downtown. It was a really good meal at Ruth Chris. I think
Ruth's
it
Chris, good
went to a
restaurant.
Ruth Chris. I had a great time there. I went to Manny's. Manny's is good, but I'm gonna have to say Ruth Chris. I really enjoyed that meal.
Manny's is classic. Shout out to Roos Chris. Adam Keebler, if you've been to either of those, let us know. Is that the last question? We got one more.
Let's see.
All right. That's the last question.
Yeah.
Let's go. I can count. It's confirmed. All right, Dylan, thank you so much for coming on the podcast today. My final thought here before we go is just that you're freaking awesome. You're a legend in the COD scene. Don't want to gas your ego up too much.
Yeah, don't do that.
You're a
Don't
great
do that.
guy,
Keep me
great
humble.
player. Kind of mid. You got to get a little better. No, I'm just kidding. I love you, Dylan.
I've been mid. I've been mid recently.
No. What are you talking about, bro? You've been killing it.
Nah.
I always wanted to improve, though. I freaking love that.
Of course, always.
Kingdom, final thought for you.
Dylan is a GOAT. Already a Hall of Famer. I'm
Future
excited
Hall of Famer for sure.
the rest of
But not yet. Not until you
guys,
win
we're trying to keep me
Major
humble
Four.
here. We're not doing a good job.
My bad.
You'll be in
Come
the
on.
Hall of Fame if you win.
Dylan's
Wait till I get off the show first, please.
Dylan's got to get it together. You know, like this 9th place is unacceptable. No, I honestly, bro, like, I followed your career and we've been able to, talk a number of times throughout my COD career myself. And I just honestly and getting to meet you and your mom is one of the highlights of my time in COD, like meeting you guys in person. And I look up to you as a player, and I honestly, I put you in the same status as like a Seth and a Krim and all these guys, Clay. You guys, I don't know how you've kept talent so high for so long, like across multiple Call of Duty titles. It's a crutch for a lot of people, and they can't have your success for that long. But you've been able to maintain your success, and you got your own content thing doing with Stay Attached, and you continue to grind. And man, I just I know you're gonna play for as long as you want to. So GG's. Sorry for the
that's some good
comments.
Yeah, that's some good gas. I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for having me. I muted out everything you guys said. I'll rewatch it back after I retire. Okay, so
yes, perfect.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it though.
Don't let it go to your head. It's more where that came from, though. All right, one last thing. Attach. You have your own line of merch. It's absolutely fire. It's criminal that I haven't picked up a piece yet. It's called a statement of, yeah? Where can people take a look at some of the pieces that you have for sale and just the overall fashion that you're coming out with?
It's a lot like streetwear, but it's we pride ourselves in very high quality shirts, hoodies, all that type of stuff. And we go from like a drop to drop basis. Each drop has done better and bigger than the one before. So it's going really well. But just go to statementof.com to check it out. And I think we are working on the next drop soon. This one is definitely going to be the most creative one, I say we do, and add in the most colors to the line. So I'm excited for it too.
Let's go. Admittedly, I don't have a piece yet, but I will be buying the next drop.
Martin, I appreciate it.
Walk around Rokkr HQ, kit it out.
Yep, I appreciate it.
Well, thank you again for coming on the podcast, and thank you, obviously, everyone for listening and watching. Whether you're watching live on the YouTube, really appreciate you, or if you're listening to this wherever you can listen to podcasts, we appreciate you. Make sure to drop a like, leave a review, tell your mom about us, and that's gonna be it, man. Thank you guys so much for watching. We'll catch you next time.